What is going on, guys, and welcome to a brand new episode today. As you can see, I'm actually in my RAV4. You guys love this vehicle. All the videos I've done on this vehicle, you guys have absolutely loved it, because I think, you know, this is one of those vehicles that's such a budget vehicle. It's something that so many of you out there watching Masai Gains might actually be able to get into. You know, you might actually be able to spend the money and get into one of these old RAV4s, and some of you have been, you know, very happy with the report I've given on this vehicle. If some of you have not been watching, you can watch the whole RAV4 series. But I bought this vehicle probably about 3 years now, probably about 2 years actually, let me correct that, 2 years, and I've gone through my usual processes that you know, those of you who are used to watching Masai Gains would know, and you know, just the usual kind of baselining the vehicle, fluid changes, and then all kinds of other stuff, which I want to get into quickly, because today is sort of a bittersweet video for me. But I am going to be selling this RAV4. I do have to make space for other things. I do need the funds. I do need to make space for other projects in life, and you know, other ventures, and so bittersweet, but I will be letting go of this RAV4, this my beloved RAV4, and I really love this vehicle. And I wanted to just do this video today to take you through what's so good about it, in case, you know, you're the next buyer, what you can enjoy with this kind of vehicle, the kind of maintenance and things I've done to it, and everything I've done, so that you know, you can, you know, you got a fully functional vehicle. Now, it is a 2001, so it's not that like the next buyer is going to buy from me a 2001 vehicle and then, God forbid, some maintenance issue happens and they come back to me. No, you guys know you're buying an older vehicle, so it has a certain degree of care and maintenance that you'll need to pay an attentive eye to. Alright, so first things first, I bought this vehicle, and immediately within 2 weeks I noticed it was shifting weirdly. It's almost like the transmission was shifting. Now, I'm quite a seasoned you know, car enthusiast, so I know kind of what feels like a transmission shifting, but this, it was giving symptoms of a transmission slipping. Basically, like the gears are slipping. Suddenly the revs would be changing, then suddenly they would go higher, then it would shift into gear and maybe thump into gear. Now, I wasn't fully convinced this was the transmission, guys, because I know that these RAV4 transmissions, especially these older cars, the 4-speed, this is the 4-speed, very bulletproof transmissions, very strong transmissions. So I wasn't convinced. So I started doing my research online, and what I found was that, you know, there was a select group of 1999 to maybe 2004 RAV4s of this generation that had an ECU issue. What was an ECU issue? Engine control unit sits just here behind the glove box, and in these older vehicles, the ECU actually had a bit more of a role to play in the transmission. It was also helping the transmission shift properly. So what happened? I read about the issue. The issue was that the ECU, the contactors in the ECU, over age and time and heat, they start to kind of come apart. So what happens? You start to get all kinds of these intermittent transmission shifting issues. So I took this to an ECU specialist. They opened it up. They told me, look, Masai Gains, the ECU definitely has wear and tear. We're gonna stick it back together. We're gonna run some things, and we're gonna program it again. They did that, and lo and behold, my vehicle was fixed. So a very sort of, I was quite proud of that, very smart fix. And a lot of you out there watching my videos got a lot of value out of that, because a lot of you also owning these vehicles were running to transmission shops, and they would just replace your transmission for you, and within weeks you would have the same problem, because the issue wasn't the transmission, guys. So I'm so glad for those of you who got value out of that. Some of you wrote to me that, you know, you had this issue, you checked it out, you did manage to fix it. Some of you didn't manage to fix it because maybe your vehicle wasn't 2001, maybe it was 2004 when they had done an update and they had changed maybe from the 2-liter to the 2.4-liter engine, and maybe to the 5-speed transmission. But those of you who got value, that is awesome. I'm so happy. And yeah, so that's the first thing I fixed. And then after that, I dealt with all kinds of other things. I went through oil services. I changed spark plugs. I got the car running on good oil, a good 5W30 fully synthetic. I did an engine flush so the engine can be performing better. Just all sorts of things. Spark plugs. I did a power steering leak fix. So I did put a stop leak fluid in the power steering system, and that really solved the power steering issue very well. I've not had a fluid drop ever since that. So I fixed the power steering, and you guys can watch the videos on that. And then we also got into air intake. I replaced that air intake pipe. It was cracked, it was damaged. Of course, I replaced air filters, and then I did also replace the PCV valve. This is a valve that's, you know, good to replace in older vehicles. It's the positive crankcase valve. You know, this just helps the engine kind of remove those toxic gases from the engine. So if you have a clogged PCV valve, it could really lead to a lot of issues. So why not just change it, considering the PCV valve is what, 3,000, 2,500 shillings. So I got through the PCV valve as well. And then of course I did a full coolant flush. So the car has had a full coolant flush, and it's got fresh coolant in there, long life Toyota coolant. And then on top of that, I started dealing with some suspension, guys. So suspension, the old springs were really sagging. You know, these vehicles are notorious for that. The rear springs will start sagging. So I got the rear and the front springs changed with Kings in the front, King springs in the front, and OBK springs in the rear. And that's been functioning well. I've been able to deal with that quite well. So changing the springs again really revitalized this vehicle, made it feel like it had that suspension travel again. In fact, my shocks were not an issue, so just change the springs and the shocks are quite okay. I'm not having an issue with those. So changed that, and then the next issue that came up was I noticed once I changed the springs, you know, once you change springs, the car stops sagging, it actually sits a bit higher. And because of that, I noticed that because this is an all-wheel drive RAV4, it puts drive down to all four wheels. We've got a CV axle in the front and a CV axle in the back. And because of that, I noticed a clunking sound from the rear. And this was very clear that it was the CV joint. And CV joints, you should replace them in pairs with fresh grease as well. So I replaced both rear CV joints, and that was a fantastic thing. Solved that issue I have. No more clunking, no more nothing. Fantastic. Now on top of that, I also fixed the air condition in this vehicle. These old vehicles, so many of you, the air condition systems die, and then you just kind of leave it. You're like, can't be bothered. No, I can't be bothered. I need AC. So I realized it wasn't actually air conditioned gas. It was the air conditioned condenser that just sits behind the radiator. Unfortunately, it had a hole because the previous owner had installed a horn in that place, and the horn had literally kind of damaged the condenser. I don't know how, it was installed badly. So we ended up doing a fix on the condenser, and it fixed quite well. And now I have an absolute ice cold blowing AC. So this car has ice cold blowing AC. So really brought this car to the modern age, did everything that's necessary to have it performing just absolutely, you know, perfectly. And on top of that, of course, what I realized is, you know, when I purchased the vehicle, every time I would turn it on a cold start in the morning, it would kind of need 2 starts before it would get going. And that I quickly realized was actually that air intake that I told you I had to replace. I hadn't replaced that, so it had a crack all along, and it was making the idle really suffer. So we did all those things, and then on top of that, I also got to the starter. The starter of this vehicle, these old starters, they're very well made, they don't really go. But the vehicle was having some issues starting, so I said, why don't we just get into the starter, rebuild it? And so we rebuilt the starter as well. Now on top of that, all those mechanical things that I've gone through, I also replaced the battery, and I also got the tires replaced. So tires and rims was another fantastic job I did on this vehicle. Again, to just update it, modernize it, just bring it to the modern age, make it look amazing on the road, and just have this amazing stance. Because I knew this kind of vehicle, stock, it looks pretty basic, but I knew that I could make it look really funky. And my wife was driving this vehicle, so I knew I could make it look really good and she could really enjoy it. So new tires, Kumo all-terrain tires, fantastic tires, pricey. I got them fitted on this vehicle. they're comfortable, and they just give you a lot of confidence because of the mud and kind of the ruts in Nairobi. You just feel a lot of confidence with the roads in Nairobi. So that's a quick summary, guys, of most of the thing. I hope I've not missed some things out, but I'm sure I could have. But I have gone through most mechanical things. We're talking about even door actuators. There was a door lock that failed. I got that actuator changed. I got the master switch changed. So I've got all the doors worked on. I got all the hinges worked on. So everything is closing properly, functioning properly. So it's just a lot of going around every base of the vehicle to ensure that it's performing well, it's functioning well. And not to mention, I also got the fuel pump worked on. I got the fuel pump changed, and I got the fuel filter changed, guys. So extensive work. I really hope I'm not missing anything out. But if I am, you remember anything, you can assume I've done it, honestly. So a lot of my time, a lot of my energy, and spent some money on this vehicle because I believe it was worth it. And today, it's bittersweet. It's sad to see this vehicle going or listing up for sale, but I do believe it is the right time, and it has good power. It's a 4-speed. It can take you anywhere. Fuel economy is not bad on the highway. It can accommodate up to 5 passengers. I would say 4 passengers comfortably, and even heavy passengers. And it's got all the basics that you would need for a vehicle of this age, including SRS airbags as well. And these were not the airbags that had a recall. These were the proper airbags that you can search and it tells you these were not affected by the recall. So just a very good RAV4, very good unit for someone looking for something affordable for the future, and something that can take them anywhere. For the value of this kind of vehicle, maybe you could buy a hatchback, but for the value you're getting with this, a RAV4, the nameplate, the kind of suspension and the rugged suspension you get with the RAV4 nameplate, and the fact that RAV4 has its own parts, I don't think you can get a better value deal than this. So anyways, those of you who are interested in my RAV4, I really love this vehicle. It's really bittersweet, but sometimes in life you do need to kind of let go of things and make way for other things. And one of you out there can maybe really get value out of this vehicle, really enjoy it, really put it to work, because I just haven't been driving it enough, and I have enough vehicles where it's just turning up as an extra car, and I'm having to, it's having to sit. So that's never a positive thing. So I don't want that, and I want someone to put it to use. So this car will be at Motor Market, my friends at Motor Market there on Mwanzi Road in Nairobi. And if you want to view it, you can view the vehicle over there. You want to buy it, you can make offers. They will forward those offers to me, and yeah, that's how it'll work. So we're gonna head to Motor Market right now and get the vehicle dropped off, and that'll be it, guys. So quick video today, bittersweet one. So I've been hanging on it, not made the video, just kind of been hanging on it for a while. But now I think I need to do it. I need to get it done. Need to get the vehicle liquidated. So I'm ready to go.